In a recent essay by Dennis Prager, the dean of my alma mater, Prager University, go Devils, Dennis wonders why so many young people have chosen to leave organized religion, more so than at any other time in American history. Of course, Dennis then answers his own question with a theory pulled directly and entirely out of his nether regions. One of my favorite things about Dennis back when we were friends is that he was always full of theories. He had one for everything. And once it came out of his mouth, it was beyond question or evidence to the contrary. A true philosopher, one might say. So why are young people leaving religion according to Dennis? Reason number one, the dominant secular culture. Reason number two, the failure of religious Jews and Christians to explain their respective religions. Quote, in America, every public institution has been rendered God-free. That is, devoid of God. From the age of 5 and sometimes before that, children attend schools that make no reference to God or the Bible. Indeed, schools generally hold God and the Bible in intellectual and moral contempt, as they should. Thankfully, the Supreme Court is doing what it can to turn things around, making legal the public funding of religious schools and allowing coaches to pray with their players. Contempt indeed. Please note that Dennis will at no point offer actual facts backing up his claims. These are all mere assertions. We'll come back to this point in just a moment. Quote, American children are told at school that neither God nor the Bible nor religion is necessary. In fact, these are held to be impediments to moral progress. Citation needed. Do you see what I mean? Come on, Dennis, give us something to go on other than your say. Quote, for example, virtually every student is taught the secular mantra that more people have been killed by religion or in the name of God than anything else. End quote. Now, I know I'm a bit older, but I never heard that in class or school. If your child was taught that by a teacher in a public school, can you please let us know in the comments below? It is intellectually dishonest insofar as it ignores the fact that prior to the Enlightenment, virtually everyone in the West was Christian. Therefore, by definition, virtually all violence was committed by Christians. Who else in the West could commit violence? The tiny number of Jews? The tiny number of atheists? This is a fair point. But it begs the question, why was a world so completely dominated by Christianity also completely filled with violence, horrible violence, as documented by people like Steven Pinker? Christianity is supposed to be a religion of peace. Their guy is called the Prince of Peace. And yet, societies around the world have become less violent as Christian influence has declined. Correlation? Absolutely. It is also intellectually dishonest in that only evils committed in the Christian world are mentioned. Evils such as slavery, which were nearly all universal. But the moral achievements of the Christian world, all unique to the Christian West, are ignored. Where else were countries committed to universal human rights? i.e. equal rights for every individual of every ethnicity, race, and religion. Where else was the status of women elevated to the status of men? Universal human rights is not a Judeo-Christian ideal. Remember, Den, when you talked about everyone being religious prior to the Enlightenment? Well, such ideals didn't come about until then, until secular thinking hit the scene. Had universal human rights been a Judeo-Christian ideal, Christian Europe would have been a much nicer place to live, making the American Revolution unnecessary. It's interesting, though, that Prager focused in on equal rights. In the past, Dennis said, quote, equality, which is the primary value of the left, is a European value, not an American value. The French Revolution said liberty, fraternity, equality. The American Revolution said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Of course, Dennis left out the part which comes just prior to those words in our Declaration of Independence, announcing America's primary value. Quote, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created, wait for it, equal. Had freedom, equality, and universal human rights been Judeo-Christian values, Christian Europeans wouldn't have come to the Americas, enslaved and murdered the native populations, and stolen their land. In Christian America, we wouldn't have had to fight to abolish slavery or secure the individual rights of all ethnicities, races, and religions. We wouldn't have still been fighting just over 100 years ago to secure a woman's right to vote, or for blacks and other minorities just 60 years ago to have equal access to public services, insurance, financial institutions, jobs, healthcare, voting rights, etc. Maybe all of that has something to do with young people leaving religion. We'll continue to look at that in part 1 of this possibly infinite series. Until then, for PragerFU, I'm me. Thanks for watching.